Welcome back to MVP Auto 08, and today, we're diving deep into the legend, controversy, and legacy of this revolutionary machine. The Chevrolet Corvair first hit the scene in 1960, shaking up the industry with its rear-mounted, air-cooled engine, a concept more commonly associated with European cars like the Volkswagen Beetle and Porsche 356. Designed by GM to be a compact alternative to traditional American sedans, the Corvair was a bold step into the unknown. And by 1964, with the introduction of the Monza trim, Chevrolet had refined the formula to make this car sportier, sleeker, and more appealing than ever before. So, what made the '64 Monza so special? Well, let's start with the design. This wasn't your typical boxy American sedan. The Corvair had smooth, flowing lines, a low stance, and a minimalist yet elegant presence. The Monza trim in particular stood out with its chrome accents, optional wire wheel covers, and sporty appeal. It was marketed as the poor man's Porsche, and in many ways, it lived up to the name. At the front, the Corvair Monza had a clean, almost European-inspired look. No massive grille, no excessive chrome, just a smooth and simple face. That's because, remember, there was no radiator up here. Since the engine was in the rear, the front trunk, often called a frunk, today, offered storage space, though not a huge amount. Still, it was a practical touch that set the Corvair apart. Now, let's talk about what really made the Corvair unique, the engine. Underneath this rear deck lid sat a 2.7-liter air-cooled flat-six, producing around 95 to 110 horsepower, depending on the configuration. It was lightweight, efficient, and unlike anything else in Chevrolet's lineup. The Monza version came with a 4-speed manual or a 2-speed Powerglide automatic, but if you were a true driving enthusiast, you'd definitely go for the manual. One of the biggest improvements in the 1964 Corvair Monza was the suspension. Earlier Corvair models were criticized for their swing axle design, which made the handling unpredictable in certain situations. But in '64, Chevrolet added a transverse leaf spring at the rear to improve stability. It wasn't a complete fix, but it made a noticeable difference in the car's cornering abilities. And trust me, with the engine in the back and a near-perfect weight balance, this thing handled like no other American car of its time. Step inside, and you'll find a surprisingly refined interior for an early '60s compact. The Monza trim featured bucket seats, a stylish instrument cluster, and a floor-mounted shifter for that sporty feel. The dashboard was clean, with simple controls and an emphasis on driver engagement. It may not have been as luxurious as a full-size Chevy Impala, but for a compact car, it had plenty of personality. Chevrolet marketed the Corvair Monza as an exciting, fun-to-drive alternative to both European imports and traditional American compacts. It was aimed at younger buyers, people who wanted something sporty but didn't have the budget for a Corvette or a European sports car. And for a while, it worked. The Corvair Monza became one of the most popular versions of the Corvair lineup, with sales soaring through the early '60s. But then, controversy struck. In 1965, consumer advocate Ralph Nader published a book called Unsafe at Any Speed, which specifically targeted the Corvair's early handling issues. He argued that the car's suspension design made it prone to sudden oversteer and rollovers, especially if drivers didn't maintain proper tire pressure. The book caused a media storm, and even though Chevrolet had already improved the suspension by 1964, the damage to the Corvair's reputation was done. Sales of the Corvair began to decline, and despite Chevrolet's efforts to address the concerns, the car never fully recovered. By 1969, the Corvair was discontinued, making it one of the most infamous case studies in automotive history. But here's the thing. Modern tests and reviews have actually debunked many of the myths surrounding the Corvair's handling. When properly maintained and driven responsibly, it's no more dangerous than any other car from the era. In fact, many classic car enthusiasts today praise the Corvair for its unique engineering and fun driving dynamics. Today, the 1964 Corvair Monza is a beloved classic. It represents a time when American automakers were willing to take risks and experiment with new ideas. It may not have been a muscle car, but it was an innovator, a rule breaker, and a symbol of what could have been if history had played out differently. So, what do you think of the 1964 Chevrolet Corvair Monza? Was it ahead of its time, or was it truly as dangerous as its critics claimed? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into automotive history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more classic car content. This is MVP Auto 08, and I'll see you in the next video.